Hi, I welcome you all to Unit 3, Session 3 of Product and Factor Market. So let us dive into the session. So the first topic in this Session 3 is firms equilibrium demand and supply. So first we are going to see about what is market efficiency, then we'll be seeing about market equilibrium. So market efficiency, they refer to the degree to which the prices or the asset prices, they fully reflect all available information. So normally the prices, they start decreasing or increasing with the available information that has been provided to them in the market. So in an efficient market, prices adjust rapidly to new informations, making it difficult for investors to consistently outperform the market. So as I told you, so any new informations, they would rapidly adjust the prices in the market. So this is very difficult for the investors to outperform in the market with efficiency. Then coming on to market equilibrium is a state where the supply of a product or service is equal to its demand, resulting in a stable price and quantity traded. So this balance ensures that the market is free from shortages or surpluses and prices remain steady. Essentially, market equilibrium represents a state of balance where there is neither excess demand nor excess supply, so leading to a price level where the quantity demand equals to quantity supplied. So there is no surplus or shortage here. So market equilibrium, in simple terms, we can say that it is a state or it is a balance where there is no excess demand or there is no excess supply. So there is only a balance between the quantity demanded and the quantity that is being supplied in the market. So we can call this as market equilibrium. So with the diagram, let us study about the market equilibrium, which shifts in demand curve. With market demand increases, that is when it's shifting to the right, and there is no change in the supply, as you can see in the diagram. There is no change in the supply, and the shift is being done from D1 to D2 when it is getting shifted towards the right. Then the new equilibrium of D2, that is the price increases to P2 and the quantity is increased to Q2. So there is a price, there is an increase in your price as well as in your quantity when there is no change in the supply curve but your demand increases. And if your demand falls down or it is shifting to the left, that is when it comes back, okay, when it is reversing back, we can say that there is no change in the supply, then the both equilibrium of P and D decreases. That is, your price decreases as well as your quantity. Then learning about supply, okay, that is equilibrium shift in the supply curve. So if the total supply increases, shifts to the right. So as you can see here, when it is shifting to the right, there is no change in your demand curve. Then the new equilibrium price falls down from P1 to P2, and then your Q also increases from Q1 to Q2. So there is a fall in your price. There is no change in your demand. So there is a fall in your price, and but there is an increase in your quantity. When it is the opposite, when your shift or your supply curve, there is a shift in your supply curve. When there is a reverse, okay, so what happens automatically, your price moves from P2 to P1 and there is a decrease in your quantity, that is it decreases from Q2 to Q1. Next we'll be seeing about the factor market. So factor market is a term economists use for all the reasons that businesses use to purchase, rent or hire what they need to produce goods or services. So those needs are the factor of production, which include raw materials, land, labor, and capitals. So these are all resources that a business normally uses to produce or hire or rent when they have to produce a product or service. So the market is also called as the input market. By this definition, all markets are either factor markets where businesses obtain the resources they need, or goods and service markets where the consumers make their purchases. So there is a diagram here for factor market. So there are four factors of production, that is land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. So factors of productions are the resources people normally use to produce goods and services. They are the building blocks of the entire economy. So the economists divide the factors of production into four categories: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So first we'll be seeing about land. It refers to the natural resource. All the natural resources either on the surface of the earth or below the surface of the earth or above the surface of the earth is land. So it is a primary and natural factor of production. All goods of nature such as rivers, oceans, land, climate and mountains, mines, forests, etc. are land, and the payment for land is rent. So the characteristics of land as a factor of protection. So the land is a gift of nature. The land has no cost of protection. So it is immobile. The land is fixed and limited in supply. So there are different types of land, that is residential, commercial, recreation, cultivation, extraction, and uninhabitable. So as you know, factors of production is where normally used by businesses or producers. They use all these resources in order to produce a product or services. So in those resources, the first resource is about land, where there are different types of land, and as you can see, the characteristics of land of a factor of protection. The second one is labor. All humans effort that assist in production is labor. So this effort can be mental or physical. It is a human factor of production. It is the worker who applies their effort, abilities, and skill to produce. So the payment of labor is wage. So the characteristics is it is a human factor. No one cannot store labor. There are no two types of labor are the same. So which means no labor is the same. So each labor has its own skills. And the types of labor is unskilled, semi-skilled, skilled, and professional labors. The third one is capital. The capital refers to all man-made resources used in the production process. It is produced, the factor of production. It includes factories, machines, tools, equipments, raw materials, wealth, etc. The payment for capital is capital of interest. So you buy all these in loans, so you have to pay an interest. So the payment of capital is interest. So capital is a man-made factor of production. It is mobile. You can move all these machineries, tools, equipments, raw materials. So it is a passive factor of production. Types of capital is fixed, working, and venture. Factors of production. The next last one is entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is a person who brings other factors of production into one place. He uses them for production process. He is a person who decides what to produce, where to produce, and how to produce. Okay, so he is the person who brings all the factors of production. That is, there are, as we saw, there are four categories, that is land, labor, and capital. So he is the person who brings everything together in one place, and he uses them for the production purpose. And he is the person who decides what to produce, how to produce, and where to produce. So the person who takes these decisions along with the associated risk is the entrepreneur. So his characteristics are he has imaginations, he has greater administrative power. An entrepreneur must be a man of action. An entrepreneur must have the ability to organize. He should be having the knowledgeable person. He must have a professional approach. Then determining the factor prices by supply and demand. So numerous factors influence a company's choice when it comes to producing goods and services. So these factors can be categorized as intrinsic, which include production cost, marketing, product uniqueness, and firm's objectives, and eccentric, such as demand, competition, supplies, and economic conditions. So these are the factors that has been classified as intrinsic and eccentrics. So we normally consider these factors when you are producing your goods and services for price determination. So here we will see how changes in factor prices like wages can impact a firm's pricing decision. Imagine a scenario where the government raises the minimum wage of construction laborers. Since wage significantly contribute to production costs across industries, this increase directly raises the real estate firm's cost of production. So they can neither maintain their current labor force and absorb the increased production cost, or they can opt for a different approach. For instance, instead of relying on 10 laborers to move a cement, they can invest in a wheeled trolley then only requires the effort of two laborers. So when there is an increase of wages, so what you can do is you can try out a different approach, or you can make sure that you are increasing the production cost, that is, and you're decreasing your laborer force. Okay, as such, I gave you an example where there are 10 laborers to move a cement, where you can invest a wheeled trolley that can reduce your laborers from 10 to 2. So this substitution of capital of labor allows them to mitigate the impact of increased wages on their overall production cost. So automatically when you are using this strategy, there is an impact that has been created on your overall production cost. So fluctuation in factor prices such as wages can promote firms to reassess their pricing strategies and production methods. So they can choose to adjust their resource allocation, like substituting capital for labor, to maintain competitiveness and profitability in response to changing cost dynamics. The next topic is interaction of product and factor market. So the interaction between the product and factor market is fundamental to understanding how goods and services are produced and they are distributed. So product market, they normally involve buying and selling of finished goods and services, whereas in factor market it deals with exchange of resources used to produce these goods, such as land, capital, and entrepreneurship. In this interaction, firms are buyers in the factor markets and sellers in the product market. So you have to understand that firms, they are normally the buyers in terms of factor market. They have to buy these resources in order to produce the goods. They have to buy land and entrepreneurship in order to produce the goods and services. Whereas sellers in the product markets, they produce the necessary resources in the factor markets to produce their goods and services. Then they sell the product in the product market to the customers. So, conversely, the household are the sellers in the factor market and the buyers in the product market. They supply the factors of production like labor and capital, and they receive income in return. With this income, they purchase the goods and services in the product market and to satisfy their needs and wants. Changes in either the product or factor market can have significant implications for both consumers and producers. For example, an increase in consumer demand for a particular product may lead to higher prices in the product market. Similarly, changes in factor markets such as increase in wages or cost of raw materials can influence the production of cost of firms. Higher the cost in the factor market may lead to increased price of goods and services. So when your cost in your factor markets increases, automatically your price of your goods and service also increases. Why it increases? In order to maintain a profitability. Okay, so this interaction between product and factor market is a dynamic process that shapes the allocation of resources, so the production decision of firms and the consumption choices of households within an economy.